I know. My head is then doing like mental maths right now. The snogging, the foreplay, the sex. And I asked him a question that I feel like nobody on earth would ask. Does he think she's more pretty than me? I want to call my dad.
He's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see.
Hello friendos, welcome back to my channel. My boyfriend cheated on me and I took him back. If you're now thinking, Chelsea, why did you take him back? Chelsea, once a cheater, always a cheater. Then I'm going to explain the whole sitch to you in this convo right now. I do actually need to do my makeup for the day, so I thought we could do this as like a makeup and story time. I have already done 2 makeup-y videos on my channel. One was a get ready with me whilst I'm talking about why I'm unemployed. I am actually employed now, but back then I wasn't. And I had fake tan on, so that was like my fake tan makeup routine. The second one was just purely about makeup. It was a 5-minute 5-product makeup routine. It's when I go to work, so it's like my work makeup routine. This makeup is just the makeup that I wear all of the other times. This is daytime and evening, just not work and not fake tan. My boyfriend cheated on me back in 2019. So at that point, we had only been together like a year and a half. We were not living together. I would still say it was obviously long-term relationship, serious. I mean, a year and a half, in my opinion, is a long time. And I would say it's serious, right? I didn't find out until 2021. I didn't know for 2 years. The only reason I found out was because we accidentally caused drama with her and she threatened him that if he didn't tell me, she was going to. Something along those lines anyway. So he then had to tell me. He had no choice but to tell me or I was going to find it out from her. You might be thinking, hang on, so if she never threatened to tell you, he would never have told you. And that is correct. I did ask him, I said, you know, if she hadn't have threatened to tell me, would you have told me? And he said, no, because I didn't have a reason to. Basically, back in 2019, I was a special constable for Thames Valley Police. And me and James had only been together a year and a half at that point. I wasn't used to being in a relationship with somebody who had female friends or drunk quite a lot of alcohol, like a ton of alcohol when they went out. I had to do a shift in Windsor and it was like a night shift. When you're a special constable, you are a volunteer police officer. You still have powers of arrest and everything, but you can choose your hours. I wouldn't normally choose a night shift, but this was like some big event that was going on in Windsor at the castle. It was obviously something to do with the royal family and I can't think back to it. I want to say it might have been to do with the wedding, like a royal wedding or something. I called James at around 10 o'clock just to kind of let him know that I was there and what I was doing and to find out what he was doing. He told me that he was at a friend's house. I knew who this friend was. It was a friend from school. He didn't hang out with him much. But he lives next door to James's parents, so it was just like an easy sort of walk out, go in, walk out, go in. Now, we actually ended up having an argument because he had already drunk a ton of alcohol, but this friend was like, I'm done now, I want to go to bed. And James didn't want to go to bed. He felt that it was too early. Never mind how much alcohol he had drunk. Never mind how intoxicated he was. So he called his other friend, who is the woman that we're talking about right now. Again, another school friend and somebody that he grew up with, like, down the same road. He called her and was like, I've been drinking. I don't want to stop drinking. Shall I, like, come to yours? That kind of thing. She was like, yeah, okay. I have never needed to be threatened by her before because there's never been like a thing between them or anything. And that is something that I asked him at the beginning of the relationship because I needed to be getting used to having a boyfriend that had friends that were girls. And I'm quite the jealous type in the first couple of years in a relationship. Like, he nearly ended the relationship within the first year and my ex-boyfriend did the same thing. I am quite difficult and I'll admit to that, but I always say to them, like, just give me another chance, because when it comes to living together, I'm completely different. Like, I'm more chilled out. He decided to go to her house and carry on drinking. I was fuming. I wasn't annoyed that he was going to her house though. I was annoyed that he was going to carry on drinking because I just couldn't understand why somebody needs to drink so much alcohol. So much. So anyway, he went to her house. They were both drunk. They had both argued with their partners. It happened. He went home like immediately after, and the following morning when he woke up, he was crying his eyes out. This is obviously what he's told me. He was crying his eyes out, and he explained to his mum what he had done, and his mum basically said to him, "Do you love Chelsea?" He said yes. She said, "Don't tell her then." I don't know what kind of parent gives advice like that, because I would not advise somebody to not tell their partner, but he did that, so he didn't tell me for 2 years. Now fast forward 2 years, so to 2021, he had told me some information about this woman, and when I was drunk, I accidentally blurted it out to somebody who I didn't even like, to be honest, and I should have known better than to trust them with that information while they were also drunk. Now this person, when they were next drunk, decided to tell the partner, kind of on and off partner, of that woman. So he has then gone back to her like, "Oh my god, you did this, you did that," caused a ton of drama. James has taken the fall for me and basically said that it was him that did it when it was actually me. And as they were arguing, like by Facebook Messenger, she ended up saying to him, "I'm gonna come round there and I'm gonna tell Chelsea," whatever. All I know is that I was sat on the sofa and I heard James crying, and I'm like, hold up, why is James crying? I got up off the sofa and he's pacing up and down our hallway. He's crying. And I'm like, and I was like, "What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong." He goes, "I need to tell you something." In between crying, he's trying to say he needs to tell me something. I was like, "Okay, tell me. He just blurted out, "I slept with blank," her name. I was like, "Okay. I mean, you've never ever told me that you've slept with her. You always said that that was something you didn't do, but it don't matter. Okay, whatever." He goes, "No, I slept with her 2 years ago." My head is then doing like mental maths right now. I was like, "We were together 2 years ago." He was like, "I know." The light bulb in my head just flicked on. I was like, "You cheated on me?" He said, "Yes." And in that moment that I finally had the confirmation that he had cheated on me, I dropped on my knees and I literally broke down crying. I don't think I have ever cried like that in my life. The sounds coming out of my voice, the snot above my top lip, I was just as broken and disappointed as you could think. The first thing I was thinking was, does he think she's more pretty than me? Is it because I was just like jealous and crazy? And I was literally blaming myself. The first thing I said, I kid you not, the first thing I said was, "I want to call my dad." I ran outside into the car park and I called my dad. I said to him, "James cheated on me. But 2 years ago and I've only just found out." And I was literally just like sobbing and pouring my heart out. My dad said that I could stay at his house for the night or a couple nights, like while I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, if I'm going to stay in the relationship, if I'm going to end the relationship. James at this point though had followed me outside and was stood next to me trying to like beg me to not go and beg me to not leave him. And I'm like, "Go away. I need you to give me space." So I went back inside and I filled up my suitcase with all of my clothes and all of my shoes. I then got a bin bag and put like my hair products, my makeup products. I basically packed up like I was never ever coming back. All this time he's gone. I don't know where he's gone. Apparently he literally went for a walk stressing, absolutely panicking, right? The thing is, I wanted to go, but I couldn't go until I knew that he was safe. No matter what he had done, I wanted to know that he was safe. So I waited until he was home, and then I told him, I'm gonna go stay with my dad. I need space to think. I need time to think about what I'm gonna do. But I need you to be home because I need you to be okay. So he said he was going to stay at home and that he would be okay. I then went to my dad's. The whole time I'm at my dad's house, James is apparently, from what I found out from the neighbours and his family and his friends, he was still walking around outside all over the town that we lived in, stressing and panicking, calling his boss, who's also his best friend, calling his mum, his dad, his sister. The neighbours came out to ask him if he was okay, but he was like, yes, I'm fine. Obviously he was not fine, but he just didn't want to spill the beans to anybody unless they were like close people. I went to my dad's. I only stayed at my dad's house for one night. I got a WhatsApp message from James's sister asking me how I am, saying she was absolutely fuming with her brother as well. I think his sister was more angry with him than I was, because I think in her head she believed her brother was never ever capable of cheating on somebody. And in all honesty, I don't think he is, which makes no sense. I know he did, hear me out. I think in terms of somebody who is intentionally pre-planning to cheat, like messaging some girl all the time and having secret meetups, that was not what this was. This was literally an in the moment, it just happened situation. Like, there was no intention to cheat on me. There was no sort of pre-planning weeks in advance. There was no flirting by message. There was no dirty phone calls when I wasn't around. It was literally just a drunken, in the moment situation. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, he ended up going to his sister and her boyfriend's house just to kind of not be on his own and to actually, you know, explain to his sister what had happened and what he could do to fix it. And her and her boyfriend were just kind of reassuring him and trying to give him advice, because the thing is, she was on my side about it. Like, she was angry that he would even do that to me, but at the same time, he's still her brother and he needed her. Long story short now, I only stayed at my dad's house for one night. I struggled to sleep and James struggled to sleep back at our home as well. I messaged him at like 2 o'clock in the morning asking him if he was still awake, and he was still awake. And I asked him a question that I feel like nobody in this world, like nobody on earth would ask, but I just needed to know the details, and I wanted to know how far it went. I wanted to know if it was just sex or if there was foreplay. And I said to him, like, I just want you to tell me the truth. I want you to be brutally honest with me about exactly what you did with her, because in my head I just needed to know. I don't know why. It wasn't going to influence my decision or not. I just needed to know. He said that there was more than just sex. There was foreplay. So we're talking snogging with tongues, oral on each other, and then sex. But after the sex, he left. I did find that a bit of a difficult pill to swallow, because I always thought a one night stand was very much just sex, but it sounded like something you would do when you're in a relationship, like all the snogging, the foreplay, the sex. But at the same time, I was like, do you know what? It don't matter whether he had just had sex or foreplay and sex, it's cheating either way. I did go back the next day and I went home, sat on the sofa and said, look, I didn't have anything to eat today. You haven't had anything to eat today. Let's go for a meal. I'm hungry. So we went to our local Harvester, which is actually my favourite place to eat. Worked out great actually, because we were sat away from people. I said to him that just because we were having this meal does not mean that I have forgiven him and that I'm not ending the relationship. I said I just think we both need to eat. So we both ate. We didn't have a conversation about the cheating or what we were going to do with the relationship. When we went home, he was like, do you want to watch a film on Netflix? I was like, okay, let's watch a film on Netflix. It was really hard because there was this kind of awkward silence and we needed to fill the silence. Otherwise, we would be sat on the sofa next to each other, not talking, not doing anything. Neither of us knows what to say. Whilst we was watching this film, it just kind of dawned on me that I didn't want to end the relationship. And it just came into my head that we had been together for 4 years. We had been living together for 2 of those years. We have built this life together now. Do I want to throw it all away over a mistake he made 2 years ago? Should he have told me? Yes. But actually, if he had told me 2 years ago, when we were not even living together, I might not have forgiven him. I might not have continued the relationship because then it wasn't as serious as it was now. So whilst I don't agree that he didn't tell me and that he lied and, well, not lied, but kept a secret from me, I do think him not telling me 2 years ago and telling me 2 years later is actually what kind of determined whether I was going to stay or not. Had this have been something where he was messaging her behind my back, they were having like dirty phone calls behind my back, in no way, shape or form would I have forgiven him. But that is not what this was. This was, he was drunk, she was drunk, he'd had an argument with me, she'd had an argument with her on and off partner. It just literally happened. And I know it sounds crazy because a lot of people when they cheat will blame the alcohol and blame the fact that they'd argued. But this happens and you can't deny that this happens. Like, this shizzle is real and that is why this happened. So what I did to tell him that I had forgiven him was I didn't actually verbally tell him that I'd forgiven him. I put my hand onto his hand whilst we were like mid-movie on Netflix. Honestly, he burst into tears. He grabbed me. He has, to this day, not hugged me that tightly. And I basically then explained to him what I just explained to you, that it just didn't seem worth throwing it all away. He promised he would never ever do that to me again, which I believe. And to this day, I believe. He did block her. I did not ask him to do that, but he chose to block her. You might be thinking, why did he not just block her 2 years ago? But the thing is, they were both in the wrong back then. He blocked her 2 years later because this all came out because she was going to tell me first. So he blamed her for having to tell me, and he didn't want somebody that would cause a relationship to nearly end like that in his life anymore. So he blocked her. Any time where he has gone to a mutual friend's house and she has turned up, he has immediately left. Or if he's gone to a mutual friend's house and they've said she's gonna be coming, he's said, I'm going. And he has asked me to pick him up. So I think recently they did actually end up being in each other's presence, and only for 15 minutes maybe. It was awkward. From what I gathered from him, it was just awkward. He didn't want to be around her. He wanted to go. I don't have any issue with her. Like, as I said earlier, we were not friends. She had no loyalties to me. I wouldn't do that to somebody. I wouldn't sleep with their partner. But I'm not her. I wasn't there at that time. I don't know who initiated it, and I don't want to know who initiated it because either way, neither one of them stopped it. But yeah, that is the story time of my boyfriend cheating on me and me taking him back and why I took him back. Before I end this video, can I just say, how cute is this t-shirt? I don't know if you can see this right now, but it says grow through what you go through, and I feel like this is actually the best t-shirt to be wearing when having this conversation about our relationship, because I'm looking at it right now in the terms of We have grown through what we went through. That was our make or break in our relationship, and we went past it. And I think this was the best t-shirt to wear for this video. That is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something about her features. You'll find the beauty, go